I took Vanadyl sulfate, a bodybuilding supplement you've probably never heard of, and I got better pumps than I ever experienced in my entire life. And I genuinely believed I could see myself growing from it. So, why have you never heard of it? Stick around because the answer to that question should make you very careful about crediting any supplement for your gains. Let me take you back to the early 1990s. I'm training back in Trinidad, completely natural, determined to build as much muscle as physically possible without drugs. And if you were in the bodybuilding world at that time, you know that the supplement industry was just beginning to explode. And into that world walked Vanadyl sulfate. Now, the claim was extraordinary and it was all over the magazines. And it was being marketed as a natural insulin mimicker, meaning it was supposed to drive glucose and amino acids directly into your muscle cells, the way insulin does. So more nutrient intake, more fullness, and more growth. And for a natural athlete at that time, that was everything. Insulin sensitivity is one of the key factors separating the natural athletes from the enhanced ones. So the very idea that a nutritional compound could actually help drive nutrients into your muscles without drugs, that was extremely compelling. And everybody in the gym was talking about it. And I remember those conversations. My training partner, Gully, and I talked about it all the time. People I respected, people who had been lifting for years. Everyone was excited. Folks were comparing notes on dosages. Should you use more than what they said, as it seemed to work with the recommended dose? But what if you took even more? And there was this electric feeling in the gym that we had found something that actually worked. See, here's the thing about natural training. You spend years being told if you're not on drugs, there's a ceiling, a hard ceiling, and you can only get so far. So when something comes along that seems to push back against that, you want it to be true. And I'll be honest with you, I wanted it to work. So I started taking it, I followed the protocol, and I waited. And then the pump started. And I want you to understand something. I had been training for years at that point, and I knew exactly what a training pump felt like, especially with high intensity training. But this was different. The muscle fullness I was experiencing was unlike anything I ever felt before. After a set of curls, my arms felt like they were going to burst. After a back workout, I could barely bring my arms to my sides. And I'm looking in the mirror thinking I can literally see myself growing from this. And it wasn't just me. My training partner, Gully, was experiencing the same things. And we were talking after every workout, and everybody had the same story. Incredible pumps, better recovery, and the sense that something real was happening. Let that sink in for a while. Multiple experienced natural athletes all reporting the same measurable physical experience, all responding to the same compound. But here is where everything starts to break down. Because over time, months, not weeks, the results simply weren't materializing. The pumps were still there, the enthusiasm was still there, but the actual measurable muscle gains that Vanadyl sulfate was supposed to produce, we couldn't account for them and we weren't seeing them. And then the research started to come in. Study after study showing that Vanadyl sulfate at doses that a human being could safely take had minimal to no effect on insulin sensitivity in healthy individuals. The claims simply didn't hold up under controlled conditions. And quietly, without any announcement or fanfare, Vanadyl sulfate disappeared from the market. The supplement companies moved on to the next promising compound, and the rest of us moved on too, without ever really asking what actually happened. So what actually happened? Here's what I've come to understand after 38 years now of training naturally. The pumps were real. The experience was real. The belief was real, but the cause was not Vanadyl sulfate. It never was. What made us train the way we trained was the expectation that something was working. We showed up to the gym, focused, intentional, paying close attention to every sensation in our bodies because we were looking for evidence that it was delivering. And our bodies responded, not because of the compound, but because of the state of mind we brought to every session. And here's what should stop you in your tracks if you're spending significant money on supplements right now. If the mere belief that something was working was powerful enough to produce the best pumps of my life from a mineral compound that science later confirmed had no meaningful effect whatsoever, then you have to ask yourself a serious question. When your current supplement feels like it's working, how much of that is a supplement and how much of it is you. Because at the end of the day, the real destructive power of supplements isn't the fact that almost none of them really work, but that they make you believe that you need something outside of yourself to achieve excellence. You don't. And to me, it's almost evil in terms of how much it depowers natural athletes and prevents them from understanding that they are powerful beyond belief and that the results didn't come from a bottle or a pill, but it came 100% from you. And if you don't need and never will need anything outside of yourself, consistency and hard work to realize your goals. Now, I'm going to go much deeper on this in an upcoming video because this is not a small thing. The relationship between your mental state and your physical performance is one of the most undervalued and most misunderstood dimensions of natural training. And I've spent decades watching it in my own training and with every athlete I've ever coached. What you believe about your training matters. What you expect to happen can influence what actually happens. And that understanding is not a philosophical exercise. It's one of the most practical training tools available to a natural athlete. And if you want to learn more about naturally intense, high-intensity training or train online with me and my staff, links are below. And as for Vanadyl sulfate, it was a fascinating chapter in my life, and I have no regrets whatsoever about it because it taught me something far more valuable than any supplement ever could have. It taught me that the more excited you are about a supplement, the easier it becomes to fool yourself. And more importantly, it taught me that I didn't need supplements, and I haven't used them for bodybuilding in over 30 years. I don't need them, and neither do you. So thanks so much for tuning in. Know that I believe in you, believe in yourself, and as always, Excelsior.